Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today, of course, is Thursday, December the 18th, 2025. Of course, that means we're exactly 1 week away from Christmas. Um, Friendly reminder, of course, everybody, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. But with that being said, I do need to go off camera for a quick moment, so I'll be right back. But I'm going to put some music on, entertain you guys, and once I get back, we'll get right into what we'll talk right about what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. So thanks for your patience. So now let's talk about with us being like just past 3 minute mark, we're going to go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight. So as mentioned at the top of the show, of course, we're exactly a week away from Christmas. And as such, of course, MeTV Tunes is winding down its seasonal programs, Christmas special programming. So we're gonna go over, of course, what they'll be showing this Saturday. The tis season for tunes. And then they also, I believe, in the last day or two, have announced their plans for Christmas Day. I believe Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. So we'll be looking at what they'll be showing on those as well. So then, of course, we'll get caught up on all the latest in terms of professional wrestling. With the wrestling wrap up, we'll look back to last night's Dynamite, the first day one of Holiday Blast. See what's going down as AEW continues to prepare for its World's End pay-per-view at the end of the year here. I think it's 1 week from this Saturday. We'll look ahead to what's going on tonight's Impact and Ring of Honor shows, and then we'll of course conclude everything with this day in each history. So, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? And of course, one last friendly reminder before we get started, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's get into this. Pull up the article for the evening. Don't even know how that was in there, but anyways. Let me. There we go. There's the thing right there. Alrighty then. So of course, as you all have known, Me TV Tunes for the last 7 weeks here, 6.5 weeks or so, have been airing on the weekends. They've been airing specials of holiday, the Yuletide specials, a programming block they called it "Tis the Season for Tunes." Tis the Season for Tunes, which airs Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific, and Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, and 2 Pacific. So now, here's the upcoming schedule for this upcoming weekend, the final weekend of the programming block. And then, of course, they also just announced their plans for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, which we'll be going into that as we'll be looking at that as well. So, for those of you who happen to have Me TV Tunes and you want to check out some of what they have this weekend, coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific on Saturday, December the 20th. The Bugs Bunny and Friends episode, A Very Bugs Bunny Christmas. As I recall, that's a special where they have basically they have some shorts for Christmas themed shorts that they put out there, that they produced back in, I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, one of which including a Bugs, their adaptation of Christmas Carol. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific or 6 Central, 4 Pacific, Christmas cartoon All Stars, which will be, of course, a special hour-long episode of Christmas-themed cartoons from all the main properties they have. Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers, MGM, Paramount, Fleischer Famous Studios with Popeye and all. So you get let's see, Columbia Screen Gems. They'll even have some Terry Tunes on there now that they have those properties as well. Universal with Woody Woodpecker and all that. So basically Christmas. So I'm sure that we'll get to see like Bedtime for Sniffles is one of them. And then on Sunday, December 21st, starting, of course, at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific, The Story of Santa Claus. This special presents an origin story for Santa Claus, who is depicted as a man named Nicholas Claus, who wishes to give every child in the world a gift for Christmas. The elves of the North Pole become obligated to grant his wish, facing great obstacles. Mind you, I believe this is and they did show this one maybe a couple weeks ago. I think this is the one where Ed Asner and Betty White lend their voices as Nick Claus and Mrs. Claus. So, and then at 6 p.m. Sunday, 5 Central, 3 Pacific, Casper's First Christmas, in which, of course, the Jellystone Gang, Yogi, Boo Boo, Huckleberry Hound, and the rest visit Casper at Christmas time as they go to try to help Casper save Harry Scary's house. Then at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, 5:30 Central, 3:30 Pacific, The Town That Santa Forgot. Santa's mistake sends a spoiled boy on a journey. So there was, I believe that was, I don't remember if that was back in the 70s or 90s, one of the two. But there was a special they put out there. I think this might have been Breaking Bass as a special too, where Santa forgot one specific town. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific, a Miser Brothers Christmas, in which Santa Claus and the mischievous brothers, Heat Miser and Snow Miser, are the targets of Yuletide treachery. And then of course, starting on the 27th, they go back to their regular programming, it looks like. So, anyways, on the weekend. So that's up through this weekend that we talked about. So now they did, as I said, just within the last day or two, I think, announce what they're going to be doing for Christmas Day, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So why don't we take a look at that? Those articles there. And there you got, of course, the Flintstones. From left to right, you got Barney Rubble, who in the original series was voiced by Mel Blanc. Betty Rubble, who's been voiced originally by B. Benaderet. Then at one point, I think Gay Hartwig took over for her. Pebbles in the middle there, and Wilma at the far right, voiced by Gene Vanderpill. And then Fred, originally voiced by Alan Reed. And eventually Henry Corden took over the role there. Bam Bam, who I think might have been done by Mel Blanc, and then the animals generally done by Mel Blanc as well. All right, so let's get to this article then. All right, so join MeTV Tunes for another helping of holiday cartoons on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Christmas tunes are here. Article published yesterday at 3:30 p.m. by MeTV Tunes staff. So, alrighty then. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see what they have to announce for us. So, we've been making our list and checking it twice. Turns out the MeTV Tunes audience is very nice. As a reward, we're giving you an extra special gift, even more holiday cartoons, exactly what you wanted, right? Well, your response to Tis the Season for Tunes really impressed us with your Christmas spirit, so we decided to add in a few extra days of holiday programming to keep the cartoon Christmas party going. Here are the holiday cartoons you can look forward to on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Christmas Eve, starting at 3 p.m. I believe all times are Eastern here initially, so 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central, which would make that 12 noon Pacific, a Flintstones Christmas. So this is one we were just recently talking about. In fact, it showed this past weekend. Fred is chosen to play Santa for the Bedrock Children's Orphanage, and he does such a good job that he's asked to step in for the real Santa, who is sick and can't deliver Christmas. So a Flintstones now this a Flintstones Christmas is I think they put in the one for a Christmas Flintstone. Actually, a Flintstones Christmas is actually where Santa, while trying to deliver gifts to the Flintstones, hurts his ankle, and that's So, but what they talk about here is more the premise from A Christmas Flintstones, which we might see, which was the 1964 Flintstones episode, Christmas special episode, where Fred was approached by two two elves to fill in for Santa, who was sick. So, anyways, then at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, a Flintstones family Christmas. Pebbles, Bam Bam, and the kids are delayed in coming home for Christmas. When Fred and Wilma meet an abandoned child, Stony, and decide to take him in for the holidays. Yeah, and they end up adopting Stony, of course. I believe Christine Cavanaugh lent her voice to the character Stony in that. This is also said to be the last Flintstones cartoon that would feature Pebbles and Bam Bam as adults. This cartoon, Flintstone Friendly Christmas, I think came out in 1993. So about 3 years later, Cave Kids premiered, which was, of course, another Flintstone-style cartoon that focused on Pebbles and Bam Bam as kids. And as far as I know, Flintstones Family Christmas was probably the last production in which Pebbles and Bam Bam, I know Bam Bam was still being voiced by Jerry Hauser at the time, but I think that I don't remember who they said, because I know we just went over this last week. I don't remember who they said was portraying Pebbles, but this time it wasn't Sally Struthers. Anyways, then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Central, the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode That Snow Ghost. While on a ski vacation at Wolf's and Lodge, Mystery Inc. discovers a Yeti-like snow ghost. Then at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific on Christmas Eve, the Jetsons, a Jetson Christmas Carol, the Jetsons adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic. Mr. Spacey plays the role of Mr. Scrooge, and the Jetsons are the Cratchits. Astro swallows one of Mr. Spacely's sprockets, becomes very sick. When Mr. Spacely shows no sympathy for the Jetsons or Astro, he is visited by 3 futuristic ghosts. And then the episode I was talking about earlier, coming up at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Central, 2:30 Pacific on Christmas Eve. The Flintstones episode Christmas Flintstone. Fred works at a Macy Rock, Macy's basically, the Bedrock version of Macy's, as a mall Santa, and is recruited to fill in for the real Santa. This is the one where Santa was sick. Then coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific on Christmas Eve. The third showing, of course, of A Miser Brothers Christmas. The feuding He Miser and Snow Miser must work together to rescue Santa from the North Wind. Then coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific on Christmas Eve, the story of Santa Claus, Nicholas Claus, and his wife are shipwrecked in the North Pole and are given one wish by the elves. They decide to build a toy shop and give every child in the world a toy. Wow. So got a little bit more of the detail there than we did on the previous article. And again, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So now continuing on with our little adventure here. Then coming up on Christmas Eve at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, Christmas Cartoon All-Stars, a special Christmas edition of Cartoon All-Stars. Again, basically, just kind of a anthology show of cartoons, and with the emphasis being on the Christmas. and that one's going to be a 3-hour block, and then at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 8 Pacific on Christmas Eve. Tune in with me's Christmas Eve chaos. Toonie goes overboard to ensure he's on Santa's nice list. Okay. So that's coming up there. And then on Christmas Day itself, could be a full day here. 6 a.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific. Captain Planet and the Planeteers, Ghost of Porcupine Past. Inspired again. This is Captain Planet's rendition of A Christmas Carol, as it were, with Hoggish Greeley portraying the role of Scrooge in there. Hoggish Greeley, of course, voiced by the late great Ed Asner once again. And then at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central, 3:30 Pacific, the Police Academy animated series episode Santa with a Badge. Mahoney and the gang help a little girl prove her innocence in a jewel heist and help her convince her friends that Santa Claus is real. Then coming up on Christmas Day at 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific. Real Ghostbusters, Christmas Marks the Spot. The Ghostbusters have to fill in for the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, while Egon breaks the real ghost out of the containment unit. Then at 7:30, then of course at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central, 4:30 Pacific on Christmas Day. Callot's holiday movie. Callot learns about holiday traditions and the importance of giving during the holiday season. Then coming up at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 a.m. Pacific. A very Bugs Bunny Christmas, a cozy collection of holiday and writer-themed Looney Tunes cartoon, or winter-themed Looney Tunes cartoons. And then on Christmas Day, coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 a.m. Pacific, the 1971 rendition of A Christmas Carol. It was the Academy Award-winning cartoon that retells the Dickens tale that was produced by Chuck Jones. Then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 Central, 7:30 Pacific, Little Rascals Christmas Special. The animated Christmas special of the Little Rascals featured 2 of the original Little Rascals playing the grown-ups, Darla Hood and Stymie Beard. Then on Christmas Day, at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, Yogi's All-Star Christmas Caper. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo escape Jellystone and hide out in the department store disguised as Santa. While playing Santa, Yogi meets a little girl named Judy who needs his help believing in Christmas again. Yeah, this is the one where it's the one where basically her father doesn't pay attention to her, and as the rest of the gang is going to visit Yogi for Christmas, he's going to the big city, trying to go to the big city to visit them, and you get quite a number of guest appearances from Hanna-Barbera, from the Hanna-Barbera library characters, including, of course, not just, of course, Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw McGraw, Snagglepuss, Augie Doggy Doggy Daddy, but we get Top Cat, Inksy, Pinksy, or Pixie Dixie and Mr. Jinx, the Fred and Barney, Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble. I think maybe even Scooby Doo shows up in it. I think, but don't remember certain. But quite a cavalcade of Hanna-Barbera stars. And then at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 10:30 Central, 8:30 Pacific. Flintstones Christmas Carol, basically again the Flintstones rendition of Charles Dickens' classic, and then at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central. Tune in with me's Rockin' Christmas with Bill and Toonie host a Christmas party on Christmas morning with classic Christmas cartoons, live music, Santa, and more. So watch MeTV Tunes. Tis the season for tunes on MeTV Tunes. Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific, and Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, and 2 Pacific. And of course, that they'll be wrapping that up this weekend, and then having, of course, a special coming up. So that's all that's going down on that this weekend. So let me see now. See if there might doubt if there'll be anything more here, but let's see. We're just coming up on. I'm gonna look around to see if maybe might be one. Might be at least first check here. No, don't think so. But see, there's another quick story we can maybe go through. Get us through the next few minutes here. Let me see. La 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 la. Let me see now. And again, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Alrighty then, so it looks like there's not really much on there. I am going to need to step away from the computer for a moment, but I'll put some music on for you guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had to take care of something real quick. Anyways, I guess now we're coming up. Well, we're at like 36 minutes. little past 36 minutes. I think I'm going to move on to the wrestling wrap up. Look back to last night's, look back to last night's AW Dynamite. Look ahead to tonight Impact and Ring of Honor shows. And of course, as we're winding down the year, of course, right now AEW is on tour over in Wales and England right now. They just did their Manchester show last night. We'll look at that first, of course, and then get caught up on all the. So now AEW, as I understand it, does have oh wait, what am I doing? Oh, I don't. Never mind. I don't normally pull that up. Anyways, for you. All right, so part of their holiday bash event, day one, took place from Manchester, England, at the Co-op Live, with Excalibur and Tony Schiavone on commentary. Opening match of the evening saw in Blue League action, with both wrestlers on the verge of a potential elimination. John Moxley defeated Roderick Strong in Blue League action for the Continental Classic, as basically the winner of these round robin Continental Classic tournaments will face off against each other at World's End 1 week from, I believe, this Saturday on the 27th. Moxley hit his Death Rider, his lifting double arm DDT onto Roderick mathematically eliminated now, unfortunately, as he's been blanked. Still, of course, has a chance to play spoiler, as with any of these round robin tournaments. Even if you get mathematically eliminated, you still wrestle all the matches until the finals, or until it's all resolved. And in a $1 million 6-man tag match, the recently reunited Elite of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks of Matt and Nick Jackson defeated the Don Callis family members of Hechicero, current AEW Unified Champion, basically international and Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada. The Continental Champion is what's up in this current tournament, the Continental Classic, and current IWGP World Champion Konosuke Takeshita. So the loss to them. And then also during the show, before we go on with any of the other matches, the signing for the main event for World's End happened, as Samoa Joe will be defending the AEW World Title in a four-way match. Originally, it was going to be a 3-way match, but then Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, made his AEW return, coming back from his filming commitments, to cash in his Casino Gauntlet title shot. Originally, it was going to be a triple threat match for the AEW World, a 3-way, triple threat match for the AEW World Championship between champion Samoa Joe and former champions Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, but now with MJF, cashing into his Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, it will now be a 4-way match at World's End for the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, with Samoa Joe defending against MJF, Swerve Strickland, and Hangman Adam Page. In an 8-woman tag team match, Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena, 12-belt Monet, among those belts including the AEW TBS Championship, and the Mega Problems of the Problem Marina Shafir and the Megastar Megan Bayne defeated the AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions, the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron, and Willow Nightingale, who had just won the title just back at this last pay-per-view they had, I believe, Full Gear, and the Timeless Love Bombs of Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm. In Gold League action in the Continental Classic, Pac defeated Kyle Fletcher to get 3 more points, to get 6 now. Kyle Fletcher also has 6, and then in the main event for the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal, Bandito and Ricochet co-won the Battle Royal to get a shot to meet each other for the Diamond. So the way this works with the Dynamite Diamond Ring is that they do it this every year around this time, where they have a Battle Royal, and then the final 2 combatants in the Battle Royal then face off in the finals to gain possession of the Dynamite. This, I believe, is the first year in which MJF is not participating in the match. Of course, aside from Bandito and Ricochet, other participants included Ace Austin of the Bullet Club, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, formerly known as The Acclaimed, Gates of Agony of Bishop Gunn and Toa Leona, Brody King, Luchasaurus, one half of I can't even remember their team name now. Let's see, Josh Alexander and Mark Davis of the Don Callis family, and Shelton Benjamin of the Hurt Syndicate. Now, it was recently announced as well that Bobby Lashley of the Hurt Syndicate was recently injured. We did hear how Jack Perry had recently replaced Darby Allin in the Continental Classic. The fact that Darby Allin also got injured, so now we'll be watching for that. So that's all that happened on last night's Dynamite. We mentioned, of course, the contract signing for the main event at World's End. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be going down on tonight's. Let me just check on here before. Oh, also happening on they also had Collision on last night as well. So let me AEW also had Collision, the first day of Holiday Bash for Collision as well, with Nigel McGuinness joining Excalibur and Tony Schiavone on commentary from the Co-op Arena. Opening match saw Blue League action. Orange Cassidy defeat Mascara Dorada to earn 3 more points, now gaining 6. Then in women's action, former AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter defeated Isla Dawn in a battle of two British women over in Manchester, England. After the match, of course, Hayter was attacked by the Sisters of Sin and Tekla. Tekla, trying to draw out Chris Statlander, who I believe is her opponent coming up at World End for the AEW Women's World title. Another classic misfire scenario played out there as Chris Statlander came out to help out Hayter fend off the attack from the Triangle of Madness, only for Jamie Hayter hit an inadvertent Hayter raid on Chris Statlander. In the main event, FTR of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler with Stokely in their corner successfully defended the AEW World Tag Team Championships over the Bang Bang Gang of Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson. So that's all that happened on last night too. I didn't realize that they had both shows on. So all right, I was just checking something here. All right, so now with all that being said, day 2 of Collision's Holiday Blast will be happening this Saturday. So, but with that being said, now let's take a look ahead to tonight's wrestling action, as we will see on Impact tonight. Tonight's Impact on Access TV, as they are winding down their time as at the beginning of the year, they'll be moving over to AMC. Coming from the El Paso County Coliseum in El Paso, Texas, with Tom Hannafan and Matthew Rainwell on commentary on Access TV, in a number 1 contenders battle royal for the TNA World title. They'll have the following people participating, including CW Anderson, one half of the Andersons, Eric Young, former TNA World Champion, Hometown Man, former TNA X Division Champion Rich Swann, Ryan Nemeth, the Prime Cedric Alexander, John Schuyler, of course, the Great Hands in Order 4, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz of the Rascals. Moose will be involved in this match. The former the Triple Crown winner in being a former TNA World Heavyweight. Actually, I don't think he's ever won the tag team, but he's definitely won the World Heavyweight and the X Division championships. Coming off of his recent signing of a challenge for the NXT North American title on this past Tuesday. Jake Something, Mance Warner, Myron Reed, also the Rascals will be participating. Judas Icarus and Travis Williams of Sinner and Saint, Bear Bronson, Brock Anderson of the Andersons, Jake Painter, BDE, and making his debut in TNA, Jesse Funaki, the son of the WWE's Funaki, Sho Funaki. In women's tag team action, Tessa Blanchard and Mila Moore team up to take on the Angel Warriors of TNA Knockouts champion Lei Ying Lee and Zaya Brookside. And then in a 10-man steel cage tag team match between Team NXT and Team TNA, on the NXT side of it, International Champion Channing Lorenzo teaming with Brooks Jensen, Lexis King, and Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe representing NXT. taking on Team TNA of TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys, former World Champion Mike Santana, former International Champion Steve Macklin, and Director of Authority Santino Marella. So that's going down on TNA Impact tonight. Now to look ahead on what's going on Ring of Honor Club tonight. Global Wars United Kingdom, coming from the Utila Arena Cardiff in Cardiff, Wales, with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary. Evil Uno of Dark Order will be taking on Mark Davis of the Don Callis family. Rocky Romero of the Don Callis family will be taking on British star Michael Oku. Leo Rush is set to take on Lee Johnson of the Swirl. Then Angelico will be taking on Blake Christian of the Swirl. Alex Windsor will be taking on Nina Samuels in a one-on-one women's match. Session Mock Martina takes on current Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion Red Velvet in a non-title match. And Nigel McGuinness will be taking on Wheeler Yuta in what promises to be a technical standout match. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up for you then. Let's see now. So we'll of course have all updates on all that went down on tonight's Impact and Ring of Honor shows, as well as look ahead tomorrow night's SmackDown. But now, with today being Thursday, December the 18th, 2025, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So, 96, 95, 2000, and 95. Alrighty then. So, first off, we're going to head back 30 years ago today. It is on this date, 30 years ago today, back in 1995. Coming off of their In Your House Seasons Beating show, one night removed from that, coming from the Bob Carpenter Center in Newark, Delaware. WWE held its the WBF at the time, known today as WWE, held its Monday Night Raw event on this date back in 1995. The main event saw Razor Ramon successfully retain the WWF Intercontinental Championship over Yokozuna via countout. Buddy Landel defeated Bob Holly in a singles match, and Jeff Jarrett defeated Fatu before he became Rikishi, of course, via DQ. They had, of course, Jerry Lawler and Vince McMahon on commentary. So on this date, 30 years ago today, WWF, known today as WWE, held its Monday Night Raw event from the Bob Carpenter Center in Newark, Delaware. And of course, with that, 1995, since I find the cursor here, of course. All right, so 1995 was just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. And also on this date, back in 1995, Sunrise's The Silent Service premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1995, so 30 years ago today. Sunrise's The Silent Service premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1995. It was originally, of course, a Japanese manga series illustrated by Kaji Karaguchi. It was published by Kodansha's weekly morning manga magazine, 1996, collected in 32 Tangoban volumes. The series was adapted into an anime television special and original OVA series by Sunrise. Special was licensed in North America by Central Park Media. Let's see. They did have a TV film in 1995 that ran for 100 minutes. So yeah, the manga was first adapted as an anime television special by Sunrise, first released on video on December 18th, 1995, and later broadcast on TBS on March 3rd, 1996. So on this date, released on DVD or on VHS, The Silent Service from Sunrise. Then, moving on to 1996, 29 years ago today, on this date, 29 years ago today, the 90th issue of Archie's Pal Jughead Comics went on sale on this date back in 1996. It sold for $1.50, 32 pages, featured 3 Jughead stories: Know Your Target, Jughead Part 2, Jughead Strikes Again, and Steady As She Goes. So the 90th issue of Archie's Pal Jughead Comics went on sale on this date back in 1996, 29 years ago. And finally, on this date in the year 2000, passing away at the age of 90, American actor Nick Stewart, who voiced Specs Crow in Dumbo and Brer Bear in Song of the South. So on this date back in 1990, Nick Stewart, who provided the voices of Specs Crow in Dumbo and Brer Bear Song of the South, I believe he was also regular on the Amos and Andy television show as well, radio program, passed away at the age of 90. So there we go with that. So that's all we got for you guys tonight. So hopefully everybody is having a good week. Of course, we'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. And of course, I'll be joined this Sunday by Rex Christian from Devil Flyer Momentum. We'll be taking another trip down Comics History Lane. We'll be looking at books that went on sale in July of 1940. We'll be focusing in on Fawcett Comics. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.